audio. Make sure we still have. Oh, I didn't even put on the mic. Testing. Testing. Nah, you're good. Let me leave this in here charging. All right. So, what we're tackling today, if you guys can see in the camera, we're currently building a cabinet for my mom's laundry room. I have a bunch of poplar. I have 2 blanks currently milled up and glued up. This piece is going to be the last piece added to that glue up, so I need to actually joint plane and then add this to the other 2 glue ups. So we're going to be doing a series of glue ups tonight. We're probably going to go ahead and install the other cabinet door, and then we're probably going to go ahead also and do some other small shop things. The first thing I need to do, though, I don't feel like setting up the table, so I'll take a quick rip. This is just a little over 6 inches. So I'm going to joint one edge just to get it down to a little under 6. And then we're going to joint the face. Well, actually, this one's a whole 6 1/4. I might go ahead and rip a 1/4 inch off real quick. The other ones are just about like 6 1/8. I probably can do this in a couple quick joining passes. Probably no need to actually set up and move the stuff off the bench. So I'll probably just go with a couple quick joining passes. So again, this board was about 6 3/16, 6 1/4, give or take. I have a 6-inch joiner, so I wasn't able to actually face joint it. Typically, you will face joint, then edge joint. I could have went over to the table saw and ripped a 1/4 inch off, but I currently have some glue ups on my workbench. So instead of moving all that stuff, I just jointed off a 1/4 inch, and now I can actually go ahead and joint the face of this board, then properly joint the edge, and then I can take all my glue ups out of clamps. We'll send everything through the planer, and after everything runs through the planer, okay, a couple people in. Hey, how you doing? And yes, woodworking. Today what we're doing is we're gonna do all the milling that we need to do to finish up a countertop. You guys can see way back there in the camera. I'm going to do a little close up in a second. We're building a cabinet. We just need to make the countertop. We're using some 8/4 poplar. We have a glue up here that's about 12 inches. Another one over there is about 12 inches. We're milling up our last 6-inch board, so we're gonna make our countertop deep enough for our overall cabinet. I'm hoping after milling and glue up, this last board can give me my last 2 or 3 inches for the overall width and still get like a 3.5-inch backsplash out of this piece too. Fingers crossed. But now again with a 6-inch jointer, what I want to do is bring my fence right to the edge of the blade, so I want to make sure that it's cutting everything. That looks good. And now we can face joint this board. And since I'm going to be doing a full pass, I'm taking off a little less than a 16th. Typically I mill at a 16th, but whenever I have to use the full capacity of the jointer, I take it back to a 32nd or so. So it'll probably take like 4 passes and we'll have a jointed surface. And if you guys have never seen a jointer or a rough lumber, you can see how rough it is. And I'll kind of show you guys what it looks like after each pass. And actually to help visualize what gets jointed and what doesn't. The pencil marks are just a really good visual aid. So I'll show you guys after each pass, and you guys will be able to see where the pencil marks get removed, where it doesn't, and you'll see pretty much where the board is hollow at. Typically, whenever you want to run a board through a joiner, you want to go with the curve, or if it's cupped, you want the cup side facing up and the concave portion down towards your table. None of this here. Very little right here. Only the outside edges because it's hollower in the middle. The middle is lower. Spot right there where there's still pencil mark. So I need another pass. You can see where the wood is still lifted up right there. So one more pass should do it. And with that, we have now jointed the face of that board. And now we're going to edge joint it. Awesome. I'm glad I can fit that category. Yeah, I'm going to try to teach you guys as much as I'm going to be tackling inside this process. If you're just now finding the channel, I typically post every day from shorts, long formats, probably every like 3 to 5 days. I also post on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. I live stream maybe like once every 2 weeks, give or take. Typically, this depends on what project I have going on and if I have some content to share with you guys. So yeah, I'm going to give you guys a close-up of that cabinet right after we finish up this milling portion. But the next step is to properly edge joint it, because whenever you edge joint, you want to use your face that you just jointed and made it flat. Reference it up against your fence to get this edge 90 degrees. I recently just jointed this to get it down to 6 inches, which again gave me a straight edge. But there's no guarantee that edge is square to this face I just flattened. So what I'm going to do, I'll break that off later. I'm going to go ahead and rejoint this edge. And whenever you're using your joiner, just for safety, never you want to have more of the blade than you need exposed. This board is only about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, so I don't need the full 6-inch jointer exposed. Just leaves more blade for your hands to go over. No need to have that. But I did already joint that edge once, so probably 1 or 2 passes and we should be in the ballpark. Alright, and at this point we are done with the jointer. For the rest of this process, I don't think I'm going to need it. The rest of it will be the planer, table saw, and other larger tools. So let me go ahead and unplug the joiner and put that back in this corner. And actually I'm going to bring you guys over here to the bench because I have a couple of glue ups I need to pull out of clamps before we head over to the planer. Oh, I forgot I locked the wheels. Close the door on you guys just for a second. Alright. Now let's actually bring you guys over to the bench where I'm going to undo the clamps on these other glue ups. So again, the reason why I'm doing this in the section of glue ups is strictly because my planer only has the capacity to do 13 inches. Cabinet is 24 inches. So my countertop needs to be like 25 1/4. I wanted to hang past my doors maybe like 1/4 inch. And to do so, that means my top, I'm going to try to get it as flat as possible through the planer before my final glue up. So I'm going to have 2 blanks about this size through the planer, perfectly flat, and then we're going to glue all that up together. These have been in clamp for about an hour. Typically like to leave them in there just a little bit longer, but anywhere from 30 minutes. And I think they're fine enough to go through a planer. I think I did pretty good at getting it flat on one side. So again, this side looked pretty rough, but I made sure I jointed both of these boards on the bottom and the seam right here. So when I did the glue up, I got a nice flat panel across here. I didn't go ahead and plane it because I was trying to preserve thickness. So this side that's still rough, that'll get planed down evenly by referencing off of my flat face. One thing I do want to do before I send it to the planer is if I can find my scraper, and I don't know where that is, so I'm just going to use this little blue crowbar. The glue hasn't gotten a chance to get too hard. We're just going to scrape that. And I don't have any biscuits, which I typically would use on any type of tabletop. Biscuits and or dowels. This top is going to be thicker than 1.5 inches, so I could use some 3/4 inch dowels, which I do have. But I think what I'm going to do is use my good old intuition and skills to get these tops as flat as possible. If they end up being a little bit off, I'll probably flatten it with the hand plane and or the router sled if it comes down to it. So yeah, I'm gonna get this side cleaned up just enough so this can hit the planer. What this side face up, and now get cleaned up. And again, we kept our dimensions of this board under 13 inches. We're at like 11.5. The other one's gonna be about 11.5 as well, which is 23 inches. I'm gonna be able to get the other 1 3/4. I have the other piece, which is 6 inches wide, which will leave me with enough to make a backsplash. The cabinet's only 34 inches, so I made these pieces 40 inches for a snipe, cut off, not perfect alignments during glue up, etc. So I have plenty of room to cut these down to the proper top size. Let's pull the other one out of clamps. Then we'll move back here to the planer so we can actually run all of these through the planer. I'm just gonna put these clamps over on the miter saw for now, so I'm gonna need these again after the planer. I probably need to repaste wax all those. Probably about that time. Hope you guys enjoyed that little crab walk right there. Only professional woodworkers can do that one. And down she goes. Yeah, my shop is getting a little full at this point. So gotta find a way to, kind of wiggle around in here sometimes. I have one project for one client that they want, I think it's going to be 12 cabinets. It's going to be a total of 6 base units. It's going to be a fireplace with 10 feet of bookshelves on either side. So I think I'm going to break that up to about 3-foot units. So it's going to be 6 base units and 6 upper units, doors, drawers, etc. And I am currently looking at logistics and space in here. I can definitely build all the cabinets. Once it gets to getting them built, assembled, and painted, our recliners might have to go. And I have 3 recliners inside of my shop, and my mom's cousins was a cabinet maker. Wow. See, I hope I can still have the ability to actually get into the shop when I get that young. I am currently 31 right now, and I'm a general contractor, so I do a little bit of everything. But just yesterday, I ended up doing like some posts for some handrails, exterior handrails. They were 6x6s, and I feel old. I wish I could do strictly woodworking in the shop stuff, because whenever I get like on the job site, I'm doing like 1,500 square feet of LVP or something, my age definitely catches up to me. Being inside the shop, I can kind of do this all day. I definitely have the energy for it. It's currently like 11 o'clock at night, and I'm about to be up for like another 2 hours in here. So like, if I was setting posts and it was cold, I'd be ready to go home by now. That's a blessing. I hope I get that lucky to be blessed to be able to do what I love that far into my life. And again, I don't have my glue scraper, but this is like a blue trim crowbar. I use it for pulling like my baseboard and stuff. This works just fine as a glue scraper. You just want to get the majority of the glue and any of the wet glue before it goes into the planer. If it was a whole bunch of bumpy glue, if you had like several boards, it'll cause it to kind of rock as it goes to the planer, so it wouldn't give you the flattest surface. You'll end up wasting like 2 or 3 passes and lose material. So by getting the bottom cleaned up, and again, I think for no calls, no biscuits, I think that's a pretty close to flush glue seam. So with that being pretty good, yeah, I think most woodworkers are definitely like some of the best in society. But that's just me being overly inflated. But pretty good glue joint. This side has already been again jointed and flattened. So when I send this through the planer, it'll give us a nice flat on this side. Because again, I didn't plane any of this, so like this isn't even. But again, the goal was to get the bottom side perfectly flat so it can go through the planer in that orientation. Before we get back to the planer, I want to show you guys what this is being done for. And this is a cabinet I'm doing for my mom for her laundry room. If you guys are fans of the channel, I think last October we did her large pantry style cabinet with some sliding drawers and everything else. This one's going to be simple. It's just going to sit in between the washer and dryer. Standard doors. I use 1/2-inch plywood for like the first time ever, other than those cabinets I did for that one contractor. And one thing that dawned on me, I didn't think about until afterwards, is the adjustable shelf pin holes. Typically with 3/4-inch plywood, you don't have an issue, but that hole needs to be about 3/8 of an inch. 1/2-inch plywood is like 7/16. So I got to figure out how I'm going to drill those accurately without blowing through the plywood. But that's going to be something else we got to do. Probably not tonight. I'll probably show you guys how I hang cabinet doors though. After we get those milled up, glued up, we'll probably come up here and slap the door on so I can get this out of the garage, because tomorrow I'm supposed to be building jambs and stuff for 2 different doors. So gotta get this stuff tonight so I can have the shop emptier for tomorrow. Because before I started this, there was like, these were 11-foot long 2x6s over there on the bench. It's a bunch of scrap that needs to be cleaned up. I have a whole bunch of plywood left over from another job I did. So the mission for tonight is to consolidate some of this mess in here and further the agenda of the cabinet. I think about there is good. I'm going to move the planer over. I need to push the joiner back just a little bit though. Oh. I was wondering what was stopping it. It was caught on a piece of wood. Now the joiner's back there all the way, this door can open all the way, which gives me room to move the planer. Plug up the planer. Make sure the outfeed doesn't hit the camera. I might have to move the camera over a little bit, but you guys can see. I don't think these boards, yeah, they're not going to hit the camera. Cool. Move that off. That should be good. Let me clear off a section on the table so for me to stack these boards so I have somewhere to reach back and grab them from. And then I kind of need to see, because again, they've all been jointed. They all started out at 8/4. They should be all around the same thickness at this point. But I need to see which one is thicker so I can know where to start the planer at. Let's see, we're reading. That's crazy. I got 8/4. This is reading like 2 1/16 after jointing and everything else. That's beautiful. I might actually be able to end up with a really thick top. This one's reading a 2 1/8. 2 1/8. 2 1/8. This one should be the thickest because it's not glued up and there's nothing else to it. Yeah, 2 1/8. So they're all about the same size. One of the boards is a little bit thinner than the other. Peace. I hope you enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you for joining in. So now I need to raise up the planer. And we want to take really light passes, just like the joiner, because at this point, we're going to be taking full width passes on some of these. So we want to go nice and light as we go. Go a little bit deeper than that. just a quick second. I'm not sure how well the camera is going to pick up on the colors in the poplar. Probably not at all, actually. There's a big glare on it. I just love poplar because like we have like a stripe of pink right here. There's purpling along the edges. There's that green color. There's so many colors that are like mixed into poplar. I just love it. Especially as a trim material. I love on job sites when I can get casing and stuff like that made out of poplar. It's just such a really nice wood to work with. It's not too hard to sand, shape. Sorry, little rant. I like poplar. I like poplar a lot. Alright, let's keep going with these passes though. We're probably going to go down until I get rid of this gouge. I haven't decided which side is going to be the top or the bottom. So, still making those decisions. So guys, I'm having a debate right now. I'm not sure how I'm going to put this top together, which is why I'm still doing passes. Again, I love the color of the poplar, the greens, the purples, and everything else. So I'm trying to use this side of the board, but there is on this piece just a little bit that was like on the edge that was kind of frayed up or tore up. So you still can see the glue right there. So I'm debating if I want to plane all the way down to the bottom of that, which I actually just stuck my fingernail in it. That's a good little bit. Probably not. So I guess my options are dig out the glue. And I can fill that with like a black CA glue or epoxy for right there if I wanted to go with this green side up. Or I can just flip it over and use this side and, you know, it'll be white. So whatever color I stain it, it'll blend just fine. So yeah, I'm not going to keep planing. I actually forgot though, did I just take another pass on this one? Shit. So I'm going to do one pass on all these just to make sure I didn't just do this one and not those. And then we can actually head over to glue this up. I think I'm going to set it up to where it'll be all white on one side and then you'll see the green and stuff on the other. So my mom can look at it and make a decision on which side she likes the most. But yeah, we're going to do one more light pass. Alright, that will be the milling for this project. Well, actually, once I do this final glue up, I will probably have to do a planer sled or hand plane everything flat. But let's bring you guys back over here to the bench. See if you guys can see. What if I should leave you guys with the raised stand, or if I should put you guys on top of the table saw? We'll see which one gives you guys a better view of the boards. Oh, one thing's for sure, this top is going to be fairly heavy, even though it's just poplar. Thank you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your night. I probably missed you saying bye, but hope I don't see a finger. No, yeah, haven't lost one yet, so I've been fairly lucky. God, I hate those glares. So what I was talking about back there at the planer is, let's see, that's white side. I can keep the whole entire top looking like a, wait, why is this one thicker? Oh, it's a piece of wood right there. Yeah, I can keep the whole entire top light like that. Yeah, it'll probably be better if you guys are up on the table looking down. You guys will probably get less of that glare too. So let me raise the legs on the camera stand. Try not to drop my phone in the process. So it won't really matter today because I'm not staining it tonight. But again, see one side, because Poplar again is a fairly light wood. It's really great to stain. So I can use this whole side and have a light color staining surface that should fairly well blend together and not have any issues. But I really like the greens and purples of Poplar, so I could kind of have that. She told me she wanted to go like a golden oak color, which is almost like a natural oak color, which is almost like a raw finish. So probably won't go with this side because I think the golden oak will probably look weird because we have a stripe of green right here. It's not even looking green on the camera. But you guys might be able to see it on camera. You have the whites, that green color, then right about here it gets like pinkish, and then right here along the edge is purple. So more than likely the glue up though will be the white surface facing up. So this is probably the glue up orientation more than likely. Probably actually that looks better. What I might do is actually rejoint this edge before I glue it up. I might do that. Joint these edges because there's a slight gap right here in the middle that probably would close up with clamps, but wouldn't hurt to join it. I think that's about the best look. And we're sitting at 22 5/8. I wanted like 25 1/4. I think to the front of the door. Let me grab a cigarette. I think to the front of the cabinet door is we have 24 3/4. Yeah, 24 3/4. So I'm thinking 25 1/4. I'll let the countertop overhang by like a 1/2 of an inch, roughly. So I only need, what was this, 23 5, 22 5. If I join it again, I'll probably do 22 1/2. So like 1 3/4 off of this piece. And then the remaining after that 1 3/4 gets ripped will be the backsplash for the countertop. And I can get it all done out of these pieces. So I think I want to pull the joiner back out. Or is there another orientation that works where I won't need it? Because that's actually pretty darn good. I think it stains the best with these two in the middle though, because these two are about the same color. I actually think, yeah, these two came from the same board. I might just run this through the table saw and see if I can get a clean enough rip for a glue joint. So I don't feel like pulling the jointer back out. But yeah, get us a glue joint here. Rip off pieces about 1.75 inches. And I'm guessing that 1.75 inches will probably be the front side of the countertop, because it'll be like the last little bit of seam. And then I'll probably do like a heavy round over on the front side of the countertop. And then, yeah, backsplash off the back. Let me move these clamps so I can actually set up to do this rip. For curiosity's sake. That actually joins up pretty good, and I don't need to go to the table saw. I would just need to rip this piece to add to it. Alright, this is going to be a precarious glue up though, because I want to keep this flat. So let me go ahead and rip this piece down to 1.75 inches. That's what I said, because we want 25.25. And that'll leave me with a 3.5-inch backsplash, which I think is more than fine enough. And what does that leave me to rip this one to? Like 1.9/16, give or take. Alright, let me clear this stuff. Slide all this down here. That's going to need to go over here. And we'll put you guys back here so you can see it all. I'm pretty sure if any of you guys have a shop, let us know. Any flat surface, right now being my miter saw, is a perfect place for all that scrap wood and clamps. Let me actually unplug the planer, plug back up the table saw, and we can make these last few rips. One thing before I go to 1.9/16, this side is still rough. I want to go ahead and rip that. And then I'll go to 1.9/16. So this piece is already milled up. This piece is 5/15. Actually, I want to remove all this. Actually, I don't even need to remove that. I can hit that with a round over when I actually attach it. So. please have some attention, man. I actually tripped my breaker. You can tell by how much burning happened on this edge right here, so I'm actually going to re-rip that. And if you're looking at the cut, the blade had completely closed up on the actual curve of the blade, so I'm actually going to readjust and take another cut. I'm going to inch the fence over just a little bit, and now there's not going to be any material on one side of the blade for it to pinch up against. This last little skim cut will be nice and fine, and I won't have all these blade marks on one side. And then I'll clean up this cut too, because that's going to be our backsplash. That cut came out a lot cleaner. Now it's time for the glue up. Mr. Trash Can. Let's move the camera back over here on top of the table saw. And now we're ready for our glue up. So we have our backsplash material, our overall countertop. And again, camera probably isn't up high enough to see. This piece has a gap because it had tension in it, so it bowed. But the clamps will pull that right on in. You probably should get out a little bit more. I mean, that would be my recommendation for you there, boss. But everybody can't be as cultured as I am, so good luck to you. But that'll be the backsplash. This will make the overall countertop for our books. I mean, for our cabinet, and we're left with. Beautiful. So now we can go into our glue up. Oops. Math. I do need to add another 1-inch rip onto the back side. Yeah, I'm going to add another 1-inch rip to the back side, which makes the glue a little bit more fun because there's going to be one extra joint in there that doesn't really need to be there, but overall, we're about like 3/4 shorter than what I wanted overall after all the jointing and ripping. So I'm going to take another 1-inch rip, add it to the backside, and when the backsplash is sitting up there, you won't see it because the backsplash is about 1.5 inches. But it's just going to give us the overall thickness so we can have the overhang on the front side that we want. I'm debating if I should slap this piece in the middle for looks versus having it on the outside. But because of this piece having the tension that it had in it, that's not as straight as these two pieces. But again, clamps should be able to pull that in nice and straight. So I'm thinking I might put this one in the middle instead of having a tiny seam right here on the edge. And then technically when I spread my glue, I only have to spread glue on both sides of this strip, drop it in, and then tighten up my clamps versus standing both of these pieces up. So that's going to be the methodology that I use. I do need to take 1 more inch off of this piece. Well, I would say I've been a carpenter for probably about 8 years, 9 years now. I've been in woodworking though and making furniture probably about 4 at this point. Let's see. Yeah, I've been in construction, baseboards, trim, crown molding. I'm a finished carpenter by trade that kind of gravitated to getting more tools and wanting a shop space. And from there, that kind of just levitated to me eventually getting a shop and building my first few projects. So yeah, I'd say, I think my first thing I ever made actually is this hammer. Sure, like job site, closet, stairs and stuff like that. I would say the first thing that I've ever actually built in a shop from rough lumber would be this. And it wasn't even rough lumber. This was made from old stair treads I had from a job site. Just because, again, being in general construction, the materials that I was left with was stair treads, 1x6s, 1x4s, and I wanted to make stuff. So made the hammer. I would say yes. Trying to make woodworking more of my full-time employment is probably the more struggling challenge. I get projects here and there. I've done a $15,000 door for a client, done some built-in bookshelves. I have another large bookshelf project coming up pretty soon. So yes, but the consistency of it just being woodworking, a lot of the times I end up doing like decks, fences. I still do stairs, baseboard, crown molding, and things of that nature. I wish I could do full time, like I build a door and somebody else goes install it versus I'm just installing doors from Home Depot. But again, whenever I get to do a woodworking project, it's definitely a lot more fulfilling than standard job site stuff. So definitely say living the dream. It's a dream of mine, and I once. Yeah, making the hammer. That was actually my very first project, and I didn't do a mortise and tenon. I actually cheated. This is actually 3 layers of stair tread material. So the 2 outside pieces were just full pieces of stair treads, and the handle I actually cut to fit in between. The 2 pieces in the middle are just cut with a wedge. So then when I slid in my handle, the wedges held the handle in place. Then I glued it all up, and then I added a shim in the middle of the handle, which splayed the handle out, and then plus glue and everything else. This has been here and been used for like 4 years now. So then I end up making a table and a couple other things. So if woodworking is definitely a hobby or a dream of yours, how I would say get into it is probably start with construction, because realistically, woodworking being a full-time project or a hobby or employment is a little harder. I do know a few people though that do it full-time, but it takes a little bit to build up that clientele. So if you don't have a YouTube channel or Instagram, I would say make yourself a chair or a table for like your den or your balcony. Outdoor furniture really does pretty good. So tackle your first Adirondack chair out of like 2x4s or something, and put it on your porch. Make a video on it to try to help advertise your skill set. As far as on job sites, if you get into construction, you might find those custom people who want fireplaces, built-in closets, and built-in, bookshelves and stuff like that. So that'll be a way for you to test it. But if you haven't gotten any skills in woodworking, I'll definitely say start off by building yourself, small things around the house that you'll use. So a hammer. If you don't have your own tool set either, and you're not in construction, it's kind of hard to justify jumping into buying a lot of tools. Maybe because I was already in construction, buying a table saw or buying a miter saw, those things already made sense. And then after I attained a shop, I can then get more tools, being dust collection, nice sanders, planers, jointers, which allows the woodworking process to be a little bit easier. Don't really know how. If you're not in construction, I would say probably start off with like a circular saw, drills, things that you'll use around the house, and you still build plenty of projects like that. I might have to do a YouTube series on how I do that. I've been learning real estate and construction for my own rentals. My brother and I have been trying to find out what we enjoy with the trades. If you're a real estate agent, I would say depending on your skill level, if your skill level is good enough, try to find little nooks inside the house where you can build a built-in, or like one thing that does really good, you probably see them all over Instagram, is the entry nooks, like a little mud room with a bench seat and hooks and stuff like that. If any of your houses have room for something like that, that's a great place to start. You can make it simple and then kind of elevate them, add bench seats, add lift lids, and, kind of make it better house by house. But that'd be a little something that you can put in there and kind of make it as a trademark of your houses that you sell. And then maybe, again, that can lead you into more custom projects. Just my recommendation, because I'm not a marketing expert. I'm actually pretty terrible at it. Again, with my skill set, I'm almost strictly word of mouth at this point in my career. But again, I would say maybe like 30% of my jobs are woodworking related. The rest of them are, general construction, baseboard, crown molding, decks, fences, stuff like that. But let me make this other 1-inch rip so we can go ahead and do this glue up and slap that door on before it gets too late. We want 1 inch. That was my goof. I was wondering why I still had a whole 4¼ inches left over. I was only supposed to have like 3. And that is because that piece was supposed to be 2 9/16, not 1 inch and 9/16. Gotta remember, measure once, measure twice, cut once. I'm at an agent. There's a glare, I can't quite see. I've been doing rehabs. That's something I've been thinking about. I wanted to do a how-to series. There's a lot of stuff I want to do, but again, I'm a terrible editor, really good at the woodworking aspect and the carpentry skills and teaching. I love teaching, but like editing it and making the video one entertaining, enough information in the video without being too boring. It's kind of my hard part. Like, for a simple information video, I might want to do like 5 different angles and move the camera 10 different times just to keep the attention span of everybody else throughout the informational portion of the video, which is not the easiest for me. I probably need a camera guy, somebody to sit here and just be in the shop, move the camera. Like even right now while I'm live streaming, somebody else to be here to read chat, move the camera and stuff like that would be convenient. But again, until the business grows to that point, or YouTube itself, once I get monetized, probably going to start paying the editor full time and all that other stuff. Because when it comes to like a how-to series, I would love to do like tool by tool, how to use each tool, because I can tell you which tools to get. But there's so many little tips and tricks about each tool, like even the tape measure. A lot of people don't know some of the basic tricks and stuff built into the tape measure. So that is something I would love to do. But like the first series would be like just how to use a tape measure, all the secrets of a carpenter's pencil. Most people don't know that, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, I think it's 3/8 when you bevel it up on the angle. If your point is sharpened properly, like how to actually scribe with a pencil. I can do a whole video on just a carpenter's pencil and the things you can do with it if you know everything about it. But will that video be really boring? People watch it. And then when I start that series, if I start off on the pencil, it's gonna be a video on the tape measure, the video on the square, the video on the circular. Like before I actually even get to the power tools, it'll be a series of videos on how to even use your basic marking and layout tools. So that series will take me forever to get through. I could do it in installments. That is something I plan to do. It's just I have so many other projects going on around the shop, either shop builds and upgrades for the shop or physical job site jobs. So trying to find that balance, but a how-to series with a lot of information is definitely something that's coming from me, because there's a lot of tips and tricks out there to the tools and equipment that a lot of people have that a lot of people don't know. All right, let's make this 1-inch rip so we can go into this glue up. And hopefully I don't get too lazy. I am debating if I'm going to set up a set of coals, because this is the overall countertop. And if it's not flat, then I have to either flatten it with the hand plane or bring out my router sled. So we're going to try to get this glue up as perfect as possible on this first attempt. Alright, now let me bring you guys back over here on top of the table saw, and we can start planning up this glue up. So, because of my mistake, I have to add this 1-inch strip to the back side. Not too big of an issue. This is just going to get glued on back here. Won't be seen because my overall backsplash is going to be 1.5 inches thick. I think it's like 3 inches tall. This is really just to keep stuff from falling off the back of the counter. So that's not going to be an issue. Glue that up and I'll get screwed there. And overall, are we at my 25 1/4? And yes, we are. Now I just have to get this joint closed up nice and pretty, and then tomorrow we can go into flattening, sanding, staining, and getting it mounted to that cabinet. But after we get this glued up, I'm going to show you guys how I mount cabinet doors, because I left the other door off just to show you guys on this live stream tonight. That should be about wide enough. Actually, what I think I need to do is raise up all of my clamps like 3/4 of an inch so I can get a set of cawls. Because I don't want to do cawls, but I probably need to put a set of cawls up here. So what I'm going to do is move that, knock that clamp off the table on purpose because I don't make any mistakes. We're going to take this piece of ripped down 2x and put that up there. That's going to help raise all of our clamps up. That should get us up enough so I can get a set of cawls up under there. Is that too wide? No, that's good. How you doing? We're gonna drop another clamp down here in the middle. And then the last strip will go right here on the back. So let me raise up those clamps the same way I just did these. First thing is I'm going to bring these clamps about to where they need to be. And then I'm going to slide a piece of wood up under it. And that should raise up the overall glue up enough for me to put cawls on it. Because at this point, we don't want to have to be sending anything through the planer or having to use the router sled. Today we're building a countertop for that cabinet sitting up front. So at the last step, typically I would just stand this up and put glue on both of these larger pieces, but this skinnier piece is going to be right here in the middle. So I just need to apply glue to both sides. Drop that in there, and then this 1 inch strip that's going to be at the back, just need to apply glue to one side. And then as far as the cauls, let me cut up some small pieces for that. Set those over there, and back at the miter saw. We're just gonna cut some pieces that are roughly maybe 24. I think I have 25 and a quarter. So I'm gonna cut cauls probably about 25, 26 inches. And I just need 4. Let's go 27. Yep, and that should leave me room to get clamps up underneath. And actually, I'm going to cut 6 so I can put one down the middle. Just because, again, the goal is to get this top as flat as possible. And I can't throw biscuits in it just because I didn't grab any. All right. This is undoubtedly going to be fun. I love glue ups that have a ton of parts to them and a bunch of clamps. Always stressful, always fun. And again, let's see, I should probably rather find my other glue roller. I'll just use my finger. One thing I got to do to make these a set of cauls is add tape to them so the glue doesn't stick to them, because it'll really suck to use them as cauls, and then the next thing you know, you done glued these pieces to your actual countertop. So take a piece of tape, stick it on the end, and tear it off. The blue tape keeps the glue from sticking to it, and then you can clamp it as a straight edge to keep everything nice and aligned once you clamp it up. And if I'm responsible, I will keep these cauls and use them for future projects. I would say cauls is one thing I typically neglect to use on a glue up. But again, for a tabletop, countertop, definitely want to be as careful as you can, especially once you get over your planer or your jointer max width. Again, want to avoid having to break out the router sled just to make this flat. because we have other projects to tackle tomorrow. And I need this off of my workbench tonight. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5. I gotta find all my short clamps. Don't know where those are. They're probably on that bench up there. Alright, we have all of our calls. We'll throw one right here in the middle. Throw one underneath down here on the edge. And then one over here. And I'm just going to sit these off on the side. And before I get started, let me find... I need 6 of my short clamps. It's 1, 2... 3, 4, 2 more. I'm gonna put them in my truck. What did I do with all my short clamps? I had like 7 6-inch clamps. I guess I can use these longer ones if I had to. Oh, here's one. Yeah, I guess if I got to, I'll just use this longer one. Alright, I'm going to take a quick bathroom break. And then we're going to clamp this up. Wash my hands real quick. All right. Now we're ready for this glue up. And from the moment that I open the glue, I have 30 minutes. So I want to be as expeditiously, move as expeditiously as I possibly can. Let's get all these clamps in the right place. All right. I'm going to need to glue this side, then flip it over and glue this side without getting a bunch of glue everywhere. And our 30 minutes starts now. And for anybody who doesn't know, wood glue sets up in about 30 minutes. So the moment that you start spreading it on the wood, you want all your joints together and clamped within 30 minutes. So I have to make sure I get everything aligned, flush, and where I want it. If I'm still moving stuff around 20 minutes into this, I might be forcing some of the glue apart. But luckily there's only 3 seams, well, 2 seams, 3 sides I gotta spread glue to, versus this being like a wider countertop that's made of like 10 different pieces. So shouldn't be too bad. I should be fine. It's actually not an elegant way for me to spread glue, so I might have to turn this side up. And of course, I'm getting text messages right now while I'm live, and I can't look at any of them. Not only do I get text while I'm live and doing a glue up. I have no bandwidth for anything else. The moment the glue starts spreading, I can't even think. I didn't see what time I started either. But I feel like we're making okay time. Definitely should have grabbed out the roller. The patented glue spreader isn't as fast as using a roller or a brush. But the patented glue spreader goes everywhere with you, and you don't have to look for it. Alright, plenty of glue coverage. Wipe off the excess glue on your bench, because that's what responsible woodworkers do. And now, again, trying to preserve as much material as possible. We're going to get everything nice and flush. But I'm going to spray glue on this last surface before we clamp everything in. And what I'm going to do is get everything relatively close to each other, but bringing in those clamps all the way. And then I'm going to set up my cawls before I get everything too tight and the cawls can't pull things into place. Whoop. One reason why I domino is for sure in my future. Cawls on a glue up like this, like I couldn't imagine if this was a tabletop and damn near 6 to 7 feet long. The domino would be a lifesaver. Slide that in. Get that all flush. And now I'm going to bring in the clamps, and then we're going to start setting up our calls. The first thing I'm going to do is bring all the clamps in to get a general pressure on all the boards. And then for the calls, I'm going to set them on top and bottom. And then bring in my clamp. And again, the only thing that these things are going to do is help get everything perfectly aligned with each other before I start putting down too much pressure. So even before I get the calls too tight, because if the calls are too tight, my clamps won't be able to pull everything together. The calls, I just want to get everything generally about aligned, and then I'm going to come back and tighten everything up. And then go ahead and add all the clamps on top. It's perfectly flush. And the only thing I've done so far is put the clamps on the calls on one side. But once they're clamped on both sides, they help keep everything in line with each other. Where's my other short clamp? Ran out of short clamps. Hey, how you doing? If you're just joining, you're about to watch me finish and struggle through this glue up. Ooh. Almost tight. I can come back and tighten up all the calls. Double check that all the clamps are nice and tight. And again, if I had like two more clamps, I'll put a clamp in the middle on the calls, like right about here. but everything looks like it's pretty darn close. I probably can tap that middle board down. Nope, can't. That's nothing. That red oak immediately dents that. Poplar is so soft. But we're looking pretty darn flat. And everything is closing up. So I'm just going to put a few more clamps on it just to make me feel better. Let's see. And we'll just throw one of these up there too. Quite a few clamps, but I'd much rather know that the seam is nice and tight. Plug that in. There we go. And one more. I think that will do it. And we will let that dry. Let's see, where's my foam percentage on? We're on like 23%. All right. Phew. We're gonna let this sit in the clamps overnight. And then we're going to flatten and sand it, stain it, and then we can add it to our cabinet. And speaking of our cabinet, the last thing I need to do before I can put it up is install my last door. And this is one jig I don't have, and that's a jig to install cabinet doors. So how I like to do it is I use blue tape, a pencil, and a gauge. I know I have 1/2 inch overlay hinges, so I want it to be 1/2 inch over the top and 1/2 inch over the bottom. So I'd say we will roll a piece of blue tape. If I still had to do this door, there'd be a piece of blue tape all the way across the face. I only have this door left. So what I need to do now is take my gauge out of my apron, register it from the top, bring it down until it hits the door, and that is my reveal to my cabinet door all the way down. So I come over here to this side and make a pencil mark. And what that pencil mark does is give me somewhere to register the top of my door. And in this case, I already have my hinges mounted. I have a drill bit, and all cabinet hinges, if you guys don't know, they have an ovular shape to it. And what that ovular shape allows you to do is you can drill a hole in the middle of that oval, and it still has some play. Let's see if I can. Will it focus? There we go. That ovular cutout, so if you drill a hole in the middle, you have the ability to slide your cabinet door up and down and adjust for that opening. But now that I have where the top of my door marked here, when I hold my cabinet door here on the side, I just need to bring my cabinet door up to that mark, hold it there, and pre-drill a hole in the middle of that ovular cutout. And again, if I'm slightly below or it drops, I can always raise my cabinet up and down, and then all cabinet hinges have adjustments inside the actual hinges. So we just have to get it fairly close, and then we can do our adjustments. All right, about there looks good. I'll drill it again in the middle. Drill it out deep enough for that screw. Oop. And then rest the hinge back up there, and I can come back with the screw. And then I drill for the bottom hinge. And again, I still go in the center just in case I need to do any actual adjustments. And it looks like I'm on the line there. So this door needs to pick up some. And beautiful. We have the doors hung, and we have our top and clamps. I think that's a good place to end it for the night. Tomorrow we'll go through sand, prep the top, and get her ready for installation. Make sure she's still perfectly flat. But if you guys have enjoyed this, please let me know down below. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Leave me a comment. I definitely try to read every comment that somebody leaves me. I try to respond to them all. So really appreciate you guys, and thank you for tuning in. And I'll be seeing you guys in the next one. Peace.